Today, we're going over some tips and tricks on how you can take down Erlang, the secret boss that unlocks the secret ending in Black Myth Wukong. First, let's go over the setup. We'll be using a Ring of Fire, a Pluck of Many, and Cloud Step. And instead of using Guanzi for the transformation spell this time, I chose to go with something a little bit different, and that was Azure Dust. And I'll explain why later on in the fight. For the spirit, I chose to go with the Verdant Glow. This slowly recovers a small amount of health over time. For the accessories, we went with the Amber Prayer Beads, the Tiger Tally, and the Virtuous Bamboo Engraving. Now for the armor, we went with the Bull King's chestplate, and we went with the Bull King's helm as well. For the gloves and shoes, we went with the Heaven's Equal set. And finally, for the weapon of choice, we went with the Heaven's Equal staff. To round everything off, for the vessel, we chose the Plantain Fan. Right when you get in the fight, waste no time in using the Plantain Fan. The plan here is to stun them and try to do as much damage as possible so you can transition them into a second phase as fast as possible. So follow that up with the Pluck of Many so you and your minions can start getting some hits in and taking his health down. Now you should note that this boss does have a shield bar, and it's a good idea to break that shield so you can stagger the boss and get some more hits in. Light attacks will reduce his guard, but charged up heavy attacks will reduce it even more. So use these as much as you can. During this phase, just keep up the pressure and take his health down. He transitions into the second phase pretty fast after his health is about 25% gone. You'll know that he's going into his second phase when he flies into the air, starts a dialogue, and pulls out a gigantic axe. The axe is going to swing around, and then when it hits the peak of his height, it'll come crashing down. Do your best to dodge as soon as it starts to swing downwards. Once it hits the ground, keep on dodging because Erlang will follow this attack up with the ground smash that'll do a shockwave. From there, get some distance and look out for his follow-up attacks. He may charge at you and call down swords down from the sky, and finish that off with the electrified spear attack. Many of his attacks deal with throwing swords at you or doing long delayed spear attacks. He'll try to bait you into dodging by charging at you, then holding his spear for a brief second before attacking. This is a very shifty boss, and he likes to go up into the air for many of his attacks. When he does this, try to dodge underneath of him, and use Cloud Step if you need to. Just know that this boss does not like the use of spells. If you use a spell, he may turn into a bird and then go into a grab attack. And if you get grabbed, it'll cause some significant damage. And since we're talking about his grabs, be careful when you're attacking. If he blocks too many of your attacks consecutively, he can counter you and grab you. And don't forget about your use of Ring of Fire. If you use it when he's close enough, it'll briefly stun him, and I mean briefly. Only do this if you're in trouble. If you find yourself putting on the pressure, getting some damage, but you're taking damage yourself, use your transformation spell, Azure Dust. Definitely do this in the second phase. It'll give it some time to recharge in the case that you need to use it when he goes into his third phase. And not only does this transformation spell have a lot of health, Erlang for some reason doesn't try to transform you back into your normal form right away. With many of the other transformations, Erlang will transform into a bird and then fly into you to make you turn back into your normal form. Instead, he goes into a dialogue that lets you get close to him and start hitting away with your ground smash. Do this for the duration of your transformation spell. Keep close to him and try to position him into a corner. This is good for not only getting consecutive hits while you're in your transformation mode, but once you transform back into your regular form, you'll have him in a corner so you can just lay on damage. And just be careful because Erlang still will look at that as a spell, and he may turn into a bird form and go for that grab. If you see Erlang just standing still, most likely he's in a state where he'll dodge the majority of your attacks and block majority of your attacks. Whenever he starts to charge up his attack, is a good time for you to charge up and do a heavy attack. Another good time to get some hits in is when he finishes his complete combos. One good one to look for is when he slams his spear into the ground after he does his electrified attack. You can get in and start doing some damage, but just be careful because he will start to poke at you with his own spear. And pay attention to where his spear is positioned. If he goes into a blocking stance, he may counter you and push you back. It might not do any damage, but he will get some distance and follow that up with another attack. Just use that opportunity to wait for him to slam his axe into the ground, and then you can do some of your own damage using heavy attacks to hopefully break his guard. If you see him fly up into the air and glow gold, he's preparing to do a very deadly attack that's extremely fast and you really need to dodge this. He'll raise his hand to his face and then he'll throw a sword at you. Wait for him to point his fingers towards you before dodging, and when he's finished, you can get back to doing damage. When his health gets to about half, he'll disappear and then fly up into the air and shoot laser beams from his eyes. This means he's going into the third phase. Try to dodge this by backing up to the opposite side of the map. When he's finished, he may follow that attack up with another powerful attack. If you see blades start to fly around him, he's going to shoot a barrage of blades at you, turn red, then fly down to wherever you're at, unless you use a clone like I did. This is another good opportunity to try to get some hits in if you're not too far away. The third phase of this boss fight can get extremely hectic. He likes to attack relentlessly, and if you can get him into a corner, it's a good idea to cast a plantain fan so you can keep him trapped so he doesn't move around too much. And the plantain fan not only stuns him, but it also wears down his shield. So once his shield gets lowered, you can do uninterrupted damage while he's getting affected by the fan. Now if he raises up into the air just like before and you see the blade circling around him and you don't have Cloud Step, there is a way that you can get around taking this damage. For the first part of the attack, you can block the blades with your staff, but once the blades turn red, you'll need to dodge. And again, if you're in Cloud Step, you won't have to worry about this attack at all. In fact, Cloud Step is a great skill to use because when he comes down, you can attack out of Cloud Step and stun him, then start laying on damage. During the fight, you can use your transformation spells, your Ring of Fire spell, your Cloud Step spell, all during the times when he's doing spells or different moves that you're not really comfortable with dodging. And some of the best times to use them is when he flies up into the air or when he's doing a lot of sweeping movements with his spear. Wait for him to settle down because he gives you large windows for you to get in close and get some hits in. As his health gets lower and you start getting closer to the end of the fight, he starts incorporating those blades a lot more. And sometimes they'll hit you in your back, or he'll call them up and he'll throw them at you. You have to look out for these attacks because they do a lot of damage if you get caught. They'll simply float in the air and they'll track you like a heat-seeking missile. Do your best to keep close to him and keep up the pressure. Some of his attacks can be dodged by simply jumping. You can do jump attacks when he pokes at you or when he sweeps at you with his spear. Now when he pulls out his axe, stay as close as you can to him because the axe may go over your head while you're dodging, and sneak in some attacks while you're at it. At some point, Erlang will start dodging all of your attacks. Do your best to get some distance and wait for him to attack. He'll start slamming around with the sword and the spear, and eventually he'll slam his spear down for a brief second, which you can use this time to get behind him and get some damage in. And anytime he does his shockwave move when he slams the ground, that's a pretty good opportunity to get in, do some heavy attacks, and pull off some combos. And if you have that plantain fan sitting around, use that so you can push him into a corner, do as much damage as you can, and you'll eventually finish him off. Let me know down in the comments, how many attempts did it take you to defeat this boss? I hope you enjoyed this one and learned something new. I'll catch you in the next one.
Go back with me to the sky. Let us get drunk before we continue this fight.